channel. Today I'm sharing what I've learned so far with distance teaching. This past week we completed our first week, and I feel like before I go into everything this week I have to like backtrack a little bit into everything that happened beforehand. So I'm filming this on Saturday, April 11th, and our first day of online teaching was last Friday, April 3rd. The week before that, March 30th through April 3rd, I tried to vlog and forgot that there were actually two reasons why I wasn't vlogging anymore. And to me, the only reason that I don't vlog anymore is I don't have the time to go to school before and stay late so that I can film during non-contract hours, because that was the only way that I felt okay about doing that. So I'm thinking that now that I'm home and I don't have to commute anymore, I do have pockets of time that aren't technically contract hours, although our district has not clearly defined what they are. But in my mind, I'm like kind of going along with what we had. So I was thinking off contract hours, I could film and I could do a vlog, and forgot that the second reason I don't vlog anymore is because trying to edit that footage, it's kind of a nightmare. It's a lot. So last Saturday, I was planning on editing that footage and had an anxiety attack, not so much about that, but about other things, and decided to sit down and film a video talking about what happened last week. And so if you're watching this, I think it's kind of obvious that never happened. I sat down to film and then my battery died, and then I tried filming on my phone, which I don't know why I thought that would be a good option. It's not. I know people do all the time, but it just wasn't good. So I'm glad to actually sit down and film after starting digital teachings, and I feel like what I have to share would be a lot more helpful to people. So when everything first happened, I did sit down and film a video just doing like a brief like life update, and I'll link that in the cards or in the description box so you can see that if you want. But basically our last day of school was March 13th. We had a plan to have school on the 16th as a 2-hour delay, where teachers came in like normal but students came in later to allow teachers time to plan, and then we would have the rest of the day to get kids set up for online learning. But that didn't happen. Our school got closed Saturday night for until whenever, and so we kind of went into everything really unprepared, for lack of a better term. There was really no other way that it could have happened, so it is what it is and we're rolling with it. I remember in college getting this list of teacher attributes and characteristics that were important for every teacher to have. And I don't know if that's a common experience for people in college, but the one teacher trait that I struggle with to this day is flexibility. So the previous week where we were planning for online learning, I was just a hot mess because I have a hard time changing plans. So in my last video, I shared that I wanted to just make lesson videos for my students and then post them, and then have students fill out a form in Google Classroom as a way of me knowing that they did their work. And that is insanely unrealistic. I teach 4 different classes, and the one class that I was immediately discounting, like I'm not doing that for, is SAT prep, because I know that Khan Academy has SAT stuff, which, funny story, we'll get to in a moment. And then I was going to do the same thing in my non-Regents geometry, my Regents geometry, my calculus class, and it never would have worked because that's just too much. That's 15 videos that I have to film and edit and upload. My internet sucks. In order for this video to magically appear on YouTube, I have to set it up so that it uploads overnight. So Saturday night I upload my video, Sunday morning I go in, make sure everything's good, and that's how they get there. It takes forever for videos to upload on my internet. The exception, I found out, is actually the lesson videos. So during that time period where we were on spring break, didn't really know what was happening, I started to test the waters with different things on Google Classroom and just in general. And I practiced filming lesson videos basically using the Smartboard app on my iPad and Screencast-O-Matic. And that worked, and those videos they upload in like an hour, but it's not as bad as taking overnight. So I've continued that with my Regents geometry class, which no longer has to take their Regents, hallelujah. But I don't know. I say but and all the time and don't even know where I'm going with it. Welcome to my channel. So in my classes, we are using Google Classroom because that's what our district uses. I honestly didn't know that there were things out there that did what Google Classroom does, but weren't Google Classroom, aside from like Moodle or Blackboard or those things that we used in college that now just seem so archaic. So that was interesting to learn. I also, like I said, I'm uploading lesson videos in geometry, and I'm creating Google Forms as a way to like check in and see how students are doing. I'm also just using slides for letting students know what's happening from day to day, and different things that I just feel like they need this information in multiple places, I'll make slides for. And I've been using Khan Academy. So the funny story was that I was setting up SAT prep to use Khan Academy, and I went and created the course, and then you select like which course you want because they have all these different curricula to choose from, and I selected SAT prep, and what I'm getting to assign them is just a bunch of lesson videos, and there's no practice. And it's like, how does this work? And then I was panicking that I had to create practice for them on top of everything else. And while I have all of the questions and stuff that I use from a book, I scanned everything in and I have it saved to Google Classroom. I mean, not to Google Classroom, I have it saved in my Google Drive, but I don't have the answer keys. So I was freaking out in my Insta stories like, guys, I don't know what to do, because I thought Khan Academy would allow for practice and it doesn't. Turns out it does. I was just in like the wrong section of Khan Academy. For SAT prep, for the practice, it's more like self-guided, which is better than me being like, guys, we're gonna work on this today. Now it's like, hey, Khan Academy says you need to practice this, so here, practice that. And I don't know, it seems easier. So that's what we've been doing. And SAT prep, it's an elective. It's not like my big priority course, for lack of a better term. It's kind of hard to express, but I'm not worried about SAT prep the same way I am about my other courses. SAT prep, we kind of got through what we needed to get through already, and really for them, it's just that they need to practice and get ready for the SAT whenever they're able to take it. The other thing is, when I was complaining about I can't find what I'm looking for in Khan Academy, I started getting a lot of messages about, why don't you use, and there's like a long list of other applications that we could be using instead. And the thing is, I can't just pick a website and say, okay kids, we're gonna do this, partly because I haven't been able to show them how to use those different websites. And then the big reason why is New York State passed a law in like the past year, and I'm gonna paraphrase it so I'm not 1000% accurate, but basically districts have to do a lot of work to ensure that the applications that we're using online is keeping student information private and safe. So there's essentially a list that exists of things that teachers in my district are allowed to use with students online. Khan Academy is on there, and I've used it before. That's what we're going with, and that's what I'm sticking to. So we started our online learning last Friday, and I treated it just like it was the first day of school all over again. At first I was thinking, okay, so we need to start by reviewing whatever it is that we were just working on in my classes. And then I thought to myself, no, this is all new. We need to start over. I honestly, more than anything, the priority for me that day was making sure that my students were okay, because I haven't had contact with like any of them in between when we left school and then, aside from students that had sent me emails asking questions about different things. So I created a video for my students, just sitting down and like the normal like, hey, how are you? I miss you guys. I went over what the general plan was that we would be doing in our classes online, and we talked about tips for digital learning. So I talked to them about try having a routine or a schedule, and what to do for like the virtual video conferences, which I made another video for that this week. We talked about the calculators because they're home, and I mean, I'm teaching calculus, they need a calculator and it's kind of difficult, but I'll talk about that again in a second. And then I can't remember what else was in the video, but just like general welcome to online learning type stuff. I gave them a survey, mostly just checking in to see how they were doing. And then I added slides that summarized what was in the video, and I provided links to different things. So I linked to calculators that they could use. I linked to the homework app and to Google Keep in case they wanted to use those to try and keep track. I also made a printable digital planner that they could use. I actually made a second video of digital learning tips for students on my second channel, so I will link that. And then that video has a link to the digital, not digital, but it's a paper planner that they could print out if they have that capability. So Monday we started our actual online learning, and we started by doing review of whatever it is that we were on. So in general geometry, we had just started transformation, so we only got one lesson in. So on Monday they had translations review, and I've been using Khan Academy with them. So on Monday they had the videos on Khan Academy and the practice that went with it. On Tuesday I created a Google form for them of just practice questions on translations. Our typical structure in that course anyway is we do a lesson in practice and then independent practice, and then we do the next lesson with practice and then independent practice on that topic. So we do an every other day structure already, so we're just continuing that online. So we went through reflections, and then Friday we did the rotations lessons. So on Monday we're going to do the rotations practice. So things for that course are going fine. The only issue that I'm having is some students are kind of confused about how to use Khan Academy. So I took a screenshot of what Khan Academy looks like when you log in as a student, and I put it into Google Slides and added arrows and text boxes to explain what was going on. So hopefully that helps them, and if it doesn't, then we'll be making a tutorial video on using Khan Academy. But actually after Wednesday this week, I don't think we might not be using it as much. I guess we'll see what happens. In geometry, we had started our coordinate geometry unit. We got through the first 3 lessons, so Monday through Wednesday we did those lessons again. So I recorded the exact same lesson that we had in class, and their interactive notebooks, I had them glue everything in before we left school that last Friday that we were together, so they are able to follow along and take notes in their notebook as we go. But for the first 3 days was like, you guys already have these notes, we're just gonna go over it anyway. And then I give them practice on Google Form the same day, but it's short-ish depending on what it was. The days that it was just review and they didn't actually have to take notes, I gave them a little bit more, but now that it's like new material that I'm giving them, the form is like 4-5 questions depending on the topic. Planning for calculus has been the biggest challenge because I never taught it before. So we were finishing up our second unit, and had we been in school, we would have been doing the review and then taking the test. So I gave them the review and then had them practice it. And the next day, on Tuesday, I had a video for them where I went over every question on the review in detail so that they could review finding derivatives, because that's what we were working on. And then for everything that's new, I've been finding videos for them on Khan Academy, and then finding questions in their textbook and putting them in a Google form. So the form will say the problems are from page whatever in your textbook, and then I'll list the problem numbers for them to do, and it's usually like 4 problems. And then I've been using the short answer, like the short response in Google Forms, which is a small nightmare because if you want it to grade for you, you have to set it so that it doesn't release their grades right away, and then you have to go through the questions and manually like accept their different answers. Because if the answer was, I don't know, like one of the answers was 8 out of 27, and if a student put C equals 8/27, it got marked wrong, even though their answer's right, because they formatted their answer differently from me. I'm having the same issue in my geometry classes, so next week I have to go back and like actually fix all of those forms. But now I know better for next time, and I just need to communicate that that is what's happening with my students. So that's the next video after this one. For every day of online learning, I'm sending my students a slide which lists out everything that they need to do, and I link anything that they need, and I include a learning target because I'm just trained to at this point, and I feel like why not? I include like what assignments are due, like what they have to turn in and when it's due, their date, and then I put a check-in question each day, and that's just like a way to informally take attendance. Slash, I have it set up so that they can see like a summary of the class's answers to try and build up a little bit of classroom community even though we're online. I feel like that would work out a little bit differently if we had more of like a synchronous model, if we were getting into Google Meets at least like once a week or something to talk to each other, but that's just not how we're set up. And then the check-in question I'm using is the same thing that teachers have shared about on teacher Instagram about using attendance questions, where they ask a silly like this or that type of question. So I can ask my students, do you prefer Pepsi or Coke? And then they each answer which one they prefer. And it's just like a fun way to take attendance. And honestly, it's something I've been wanting to do in my classroom, but I just never got around to starting it. Like, it'd be on my mind, but once that bell rings, I'm like right back in that routine, and it's hard for me to break and try new things. And also yesterday at the end of our week, I gave all of my classes the same survey just to like check in and see how things are going as far as online learning is concerned. So I asked about which calculator they chose to use, if they're finding the daily slides to be helpful, how they're doing with the different learning applications that we're using, whether it's lesson videos or Khan Academy. I can't remember the other ones, but I did post it in my stories, which will be expired, so I guess I'll add them to a highlight. But I found that information from the survey to be very helpful. I also asked them for suggestions for future check-in questions. I don't remember the rest, but I found it very, very helpful to just do a little survey with them. Talking through the rundown of everything that I'm teaching took way longer than expected. What I really wanted to talk about was just the progress that I've made, because this is difficult, and I know it's not just me. I hate change though. So I mentioned last Saturday I had an anxiety attack over all of this. I was so stressed out. And this week I feel the complete opposite. I feel so much better. Throughout all of this, what I'm most grateful for is the network of teachers that I'm in contact with on Instagram and Facebook. The teachers that started online teaching last month, they've kind of like led the way and made it so much easier for me and other teachers, and I'm just so grateful to them. And the one thing that I've learned from watching them is that it starts out and it's going to be difficult, but it's going to get better. And above all, I feel like that's the message that I want to share for anyone that's just starting their online teaching now. It's going to get better. And more than anything, we are going to be stronger educators for having gone through this. As I look ahead to next year, it's actually kind of weird to say that. Usually by this time of the year, I'm starting to like dream about the new school year. I'm not. But as I start to think about it, if I wanted to implement some of this technology in my classroom that I haven't used before, because with math, it's just weird and kind of different and kind of difficult sometimes to incorporate technology. But I feel like I could now. Anyway, that wasn't quite the progress I wanted to talk about. I love and thrive on being a week ahead in my planning. It's not the case right now, and I am coming to terms with that and trying to be okay with it. But it's part of how I like measure my success, is whether or not I'm ready. Like as of right now, not ready for Monday, but I'm okay with it. Last week, that was not the case. So this past week I was focused on surviving, but also just getting things organized and getting more of an idea of what to expect. And so I just wanted to share what I have done to get organized physically, not digitally. Although I did get organized digitally as well. Just for me, like that physical space means a lot. So where I normally film is my office area, which I'm still in my office. I'm just in the opposite corner to film this today. But I could not focus when I was trying to work in my office area, because when I'm working in my office area, I'm working on Teachers Pay Teachers and blogging and this YouTube channel and different things like that. So to sit down and try to do work, it did not work out for me, not long term. I never had a problem before doing schoolwork there. Like I could sit down and do schoolwork for like an hour and I'd be fine, but trying to do online stuff, I just felt like if I'm online, I want to be creating something. So I ended up having to kind of move my space, and I've been working in my kitchen on my kitchen counter, which is nice because I could either sit down on the stools or I could stand and work. But that means that I needed to make like a little mobile home office. So there's two main things that I brought into the kitchen with me, and the first is this is a magazine file holder, which I love these. I use these in my classroom. Not quite this one. This one I've had at home for a while because it's just cute, but I love this because it takes the stuff that would probably make a pile that looks really messy, and it holds it up nice and vertically and neat, and it keeps it corralled. So I have my computer in here, which normally I wouldn't. It's just bringing this here to film, I found out that it fit in there. I keep my iPad in there, which I have my notes for this video on. I have a notepad for my calculus notes because as they're going through things on Khan Academy, what I was doing before was I was having to teach myself stuff from the textbook and then make my own notes and then create notes for my students and then etc. and then teach. So using Khan Academy, I'm finding the videos on the topic that we have, learning from Khan Academy myself. That's where I'm taking the notes from. I am creating PDF notes to send to my students. We are not allowed to tell our students to print anything, but I'm offering them for students that need that visual or have a printer and want to do it. So that was a long explanation. I have my clipboard in here with my student rosters, which right now just looks like a massive checklist. I have a little workbook that we give our students every year for Regents exams. Regents were canceled this June, which that was an announcement from this week, but I had it here just in case. It also just makes it easier when I'm looking for problems for students to do, just to have this here because it has 7 different Regents exams in it, so I can use their questions. I have my planner. So this is not the planner that I normally use for school stuff. This is my home planner, but since I'm teaching from home, this is the planner that I've been using. And I just kind of like, I don't know, I just like how it's laid out. So I was using this. I have another notepad. This is just for like making lists or for showing scratch work on problems. And I borrowed one of our calculators from my school. So this is a TI Inspire. I think I mentioned that I wanted to talk about calculators, but then forgot. The 2 calculators that I recommended to my students were the TI Inspire, which they can right now download for free, but the problem is they actually have to download it onto their computer, and some of our students are getting Chromebooks from the school to use, so they can't download them on the Chromebooks. The alternative is to use Desmos. So I actually need to make like a tutorial video because some students had questions about using Desmos. But Desmos is completely online for a graphing calculator. It's free and easy to use. It also has an app. So that's this. I usually keep in the corner on my counter. I also have a folder that has all different kinds of papers and stuff in it. Like the one paper that's been super helpful to me is this organizer that I created. So I have the days of the week across the top and then my subjects down the side, and then in the boxes I'm writing in what the topics are that we're working on and what I have for them, whether it's a video, Khan Academy, etc. So this has been keeping me like keep track because I'm only a day ahead. So when I go and make my assignments in Google Classroom, I've been scheduling them so that they go up at 8 a.m. the next day, and this just helps me make sure that I have everything that I need per class. I actually have a Google Sheets version of this organizer available in my Organized Teacher group. It's the Organized Teacher Challenge Facebook group. So if you wanted a copy of this, you can join, and then that's in there for free. So normally I rave about these folders. They're the poly folders with the prongs. This does not fit in my little magazine file holder, so it kind of stays off to the side. And then the other important part of my organization is this bin. It has all like the little stuff in there. So I keep, I have the graph paper post-it notes. I don't think they make these anymore. I bought a bunch of them on clearance a couple of years ago. But since we're in coordinate geometry and transformations, it's been helpful to have those. I have like regular line post-it notes that I've just been using for when I want to have like a little list and keep it in front of me so I know what I'm working on instead of having it like in my planner and having it take up a bunch of space. Chargers galore. I have my MacBook, I have the iPad charger, the iPad pencil charger. I have a couple of different pens, a highlighter and a pencil, mechanical pencil of course. Then I have smaller things in this bin inside of my bin. So I have my flash drives, I have my normal teacher stuff, Teachers Pay Teacher stuff in case there's something else I need. I keep a stick of chapstick in here. Then I made these little pouches the other night. It's like a fun like DIY, but I keep my headphones in here. I have 2 different sets because I have ones that will plug into my computer and then ones that will plug into my iPad because they don't use the same adapter. And then I have my external hard drive for videos. So I'd say Monday was kind of like a bad day. I was really stressed out, and then what I did on Tuesday was I started just by organizing everything and setting all of this up, and ever since I felt a million times better. So with me loving to be like a full week ahead, what I'm hoping for is that now that I'm organized and have an idea of what's going on, I can start to form a routine this week. And then after that, I'm hoping that I can start batching my work. So I have a whole video about how I like to batch lesson plan. I'm hoping to get to that point with digital lesson planning soon. And then after all that, I'd say probably the other most important thing that I've been able to do is find patience and to be patient and remind myself that this is not just completely new to me, but it's also completely new to my students. We never did anything in class in Google Classroom. We never used Khan Academy, and while they did use Google Classroom in their other classes, it's still just not the same. They went from using Google Classroom sparingly to using it constantly. So just having that patience for them as they're also adjusting, and not all of our students have access. Our school is working on providing Chromebooks for anyone that needs them and providing internet. So in the meantime, it's important just to be patient for the students that are just signing on for the first time and don't really know what's going on or what to do. So I feel like those were all of the big revelations this week, which was a lot. Plus I was talking about 2 weeks instead of just one, but that's okay. Maybe next week I'll do an update. I don't know that next week is going to be totally different, but we'll see what happens. And best of luck to anyone else that's digital teaching. Feel free to share what you're doing in the comments below, because I like to hear different approaches that people have. And as always, thanks for watching.